We are the Ninja Legion. I'm Spider.
I'm D.
And this is Saving Throw. Got a few games to go over today. Starting off with Ninja Dice. Since we are the Ninja Legion, it felt appropriate that we do a review of this game. It's a nice little simple one. It was funded through Kickstarter, which I actually just found out before we did this. The idea is that you are a ninja trying to get through a house full of obstacles.
That's basic concept, but it rotates for each person. The house will rotate for each person. It's not player versus everybody else. It's you're all trying to get through a set scenario.
Yep. So you do 3 rounds. Each player gets to play through 3 rounds. The house gets a bit bigger each time you play. It starts off being 4 dice, then moves up to 5, then 6, and the goal is to end up with the most money at the end. And you can get that by completing sections of the house, completing the whole house, not killing anybody, or just basically being unseen, or stealing from the other ninjas.
So you start out, one person rolls 4 dice, the house dice, and there are locks, civilians, and guards. And it could be either 1 civilian or 2 civilians, or 1 guard, 2 guard. Then you have anybody that isn't the ninja for that turn rolls a separate attack die, and you can either essentially make them run out the clock. There are 4 attack dice, so if 4 hourglasses show up, the player's turn ends because they've run out of time. But you can also use it to steal money from other people or block people from stealing from you. But then the ninja whose turn it is rolls 5 dice, and that will determine what you can do. There are locks or keys to unlock the locks, shuriken to kill the guards, and then there's sneak. And then there's an interesting little concept of it that as you roll the dice, you have to leave them where they are, because on certain dice there's a ray to show anything beyond that row, anything beyond that line is under a certain rule. So there's an arrow that if you're behind that line, someone can steal from you. There's a quad that if you're behind that line, you can turn anything you have, shuriken, lock, or keys, or sneak, into 4 instead of just 1.
Yeah, which is pretty much how Cheaty Face ended up winning the first game, was that I kept getting the multiplier die.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, I rolled once and I beat the whole house, so give me money.
Yeah. And he snuck through it, so he didn't kill anybody, so we got the bonus money for doing it too.
I'm getting all the extra money as superior ninja skills through luck.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and you can get arrow catches that stop.
Right, that stop attacks.
And you get those on the extra die as well. Not only if you're the active ninja, but also if you're one of the other people, you can get the arrow catch to stop people from stealing from you.
Right.
Hoard your money so that no one can take stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a very basic kind of game, real easy setup, real quick to play. But I enjoyed it. There's the way that it plays is pretty neat. Oh, we forgot. We didn't mention the wild card.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, every die will have a face on it that looks something like this little dice bag right here that I'm holding in my hand. It's a little ninja mask thing, and that is a wild die. You can make it of either the sneak, the shuriken, or the lockpicks to get through the house, and it works just like the other ones, but you get to choose what it ends up being. You can re-roll your dice.
It plays like Yahtzee in the sense you have 2 additional re-rolls, so you have 1 starting roll and then 2 more rolls.
No, you can re-roll as many times as you want for ninja dice.
Right.
Yeah, the other one.
Right.
Another game that we're gonna get to.
Yes.
But yeah, so you can roll as many times as you want, but each time you roll, the other people get to roll their die again as well, unless they hit an hourglass. So you're tempting fate each time, where you could possibly get more gold if you can complete the house on additional rolls, but you can also time out and get nothing. So you have to kind of risk.
It's risk reward.
Yeah, risk reward, exactly. So, but yeah, it's a nice simple little game. I figured as the Ninja Legion, we had to do the Ninja Dice game, and the bag is awesome. It's got the little ninja tail, like back of the mask and everything on it.
How much did it run you?
$25. Which, I mean, I guess for a dice game is a little bit up there.
But it was funded off of a Kickstarter.
Funded off of a Kickstarter. It has the nice little zip bag. You get a little pouch full of coins that you can use to keep track of how much money you've earned, and then you get all the dice that come in the bag too. But it's a really fun game. It's a nice, easy, quick little pickup thing, something you can do at a party. It doesn't require prior knowledge to do it. You can just roll dice and
just go for it.
And just go.
Yep.
So, scale of 1 to 10, probably like an 8 or a 9. Like, it's not a super deep game, but it's fun. It's easy. Anybody can pick it up and play it.
Based off simplicity, I would say an 8, but as total gameplay, maybe a 7. So somewhere around that area.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, we've got our next game, which is also in the ninja field of things. It's called Shinobi WAT-AHH. We feel the need to do the voice every time I say it. But the idea of this game, again, is that you're a bunch of ninjas fighting against each other, and there's 2 different modes for the game. Can't remember what the first...
It's Grasshopper mode and Grandmaster mode.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I didn't remember the names. I knew Grandmaster, but I couldn't remember the other one.
Yes.
The Grandmaster mode basically consists of playing multiple games of Grasshopper mode, and at that point, it's just a card game.
Right.
You get like an opening hand of cards, and you have to assemble clans of ninjas from the different types that they have.
It functions close to Go Fish in the sense that you have to have at least 2 of one type of clan to put them down on the board, but you can have 3 or 4 as well and put them down together to get bonus effects. Each clan has its own unique effect. One allows you to draw additional cards. One allows you to take out of the graveyard. It's a different name for it. One allows you to bounce. Clans. One allows you to destroy clans.
Well, I mean, instead of just going through like what they do, like we can go through the individual clans of the game. So, say there's the monkey,
which is copy effect of anyone that's already on the board.
Copy effect, and there's also a yokai for each ninja clan that corresponds to it. So for the monkey clan, it's the Monkey King,
which does the top effect for the monkey clans.
The best effect for the monkey clan.
Right. There's the rat, which forces a player to discard cards.
Yep, and then there's a Nezumi, who's the yokai to correspond with that. The Dragon Clan, which pretty obvious. You get to look at the top X amount of cards from the deck, pick 1 or 2 of them, and then put that into your hand. So it'll help you build your next clan up.
Yep.
And then of course a dragon to go with that. Pretty simple there.
There's the crow, which allows you to take stuff out of the graveyard, and then the corresponding is the Tengu.
Yep.
There's the spider, which allows you to destroy clans
or other cards or full
right? Yeah, depending on whether you have the 2 or the 3.
What was the one that corresponded with that? It was like a maiden. Or
something?
I
think it was one of the a ghost. I forget what the specific name for it was.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember either.
Yeah.
Poor me. Toad.
Toad allows you to bounce
cards or clans.
With I don't know what the.
I don't know if there was a corresponding.
There was.
A corresponding.
Yes, there was.
I don't remember seeing that one.
Yes, there was.
So
there was also. Let's see. There's the fox. That allows you to exchange cards or exchange your entire hand, and then the kitsune is the matching corresponding one. There is. What other ones are we missing? Going through rat.
Oh, the toad one was a kappa.
Right.
Kappa was the one that went with toad.
Right. Yep. Crow.
The bear.
Yes.
The Bear Clan, and they were just high point cards that didn't have a special effect, but were just worth a lot of points at the end of the game. And their corresponding yokai was just a straight oni that was worth like 8 points.
Yeah.
So the highest point cost.
Also had no effect. It was just straight up.
No
point
effect.
value.
Just here's 8 points.
Yeah.
The other thing that was in the game to make it a little bit easier to play your clans out was a Ronin.
They were a wild card. They function as anything,
you could
but
use them as any.
And they did count towards the number of cards you played for determining the effect. Right. So
the idea behind it was you would try to get as many points as possible through playing your clans, and the game would end when the first player to play a 4th clan out.
After the ability activates. So
yeah,
you play the 4th clan, the ability
activates,
activates, and then the game ends.
So you do that, and there's all kinds of ways you can use that to deprive your opponents of points at the last minute, and there's lots of ways to disrupt people from being able to win too, whether it's destruction or bouncing or hand swaps and things like that. So basic grasshopper mode played out like that, and you just go. Each person would take their turn.
You could also, instead of playing a clan for the turn, you could also enhance a current clan on the board, where you had to play at least one card on a clan, whether it be a yokai, a ronin, or matching one of that clan, and you could increase the value of that clan's point value at the end. But you could only do that or play a clan. You could not do both in the same turn.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, when at the beginning of your turn, you would draw you had two draw options, either to draw a single card from the top of the deck, or you could, gain corruption, where you take the top card of the deck, look at its point cost, add 2 to that, and draw that many cards. But then whatever its point cost would count against you at the end of the game. So you had to choose, sometimes like if you're just low on cards, you needed to do the corruption thing just to get more cards and be able to build stuff out.
Right.
No. Oh, we forgot the Carp clan.
Right, that's right. The Carp allows you to draw additional cards.
Yeah, just awesome.
Yeah, straight up good.
Yeah, straight up good. So yeah, you do that. So that's the basic grasshopper mode, is just to play
one round described. And you just...
One round and done. Yeah. And whoever has the most points at the end wins. Grandmaster mode brings it up to like the next level. You do 3 rounds of grasshopper mode, and then depending on who wins, and they get a number of shuriken, which they place out onto the game board. There's different zones there. There's 3 decoy bosses, a final boss, and then a couple of other zones that give you extra effects. One lets you draw like special cards that will affect the next round you play. There's a special zone for whoever lost the last time, where they get to look at 2 cards and pick one.
Yeah, they're separate from. There's the Emperor's Palace, which you can only put 1 in. You take 1 card from a yellow deck. The loser of the round gets to go in a different area, and they draw 2 blue cards. Look at one, or choose one, put it away, put the other one on the bottom of the deck. There's the area where you can peek at the decoy bosses to figure out what the final boss is, because the final boss can vary on point value. There's ones that give you pluses, one that give you minuses. So if you put a bunch of shuriken on it and it's the one that gives you minuses, you could lose a ton of points because you put extra stuff on there. So you're trying to figure out who the main boss is by looking at the 3 decoys. But what wasn't mentioned is that there's another card in the box that nobody gets to look at unless there's one of the special cards from the Emperor's Palace that just lets you look at it.
Yeah, it's a burn card, so that you're not supposed to know what the final boss is.
Right.
But
so you're playing to accumulate the most points throughout the 3 rounds. But instead of at the end of every game you reshuffle the deck and you redeal out everyone's cards, you're going into rounds 2 and 3. You instead keep the hands that you had when you ended the previous round. So if you did poorly and you have a fistful of cards, you open up with a fistful of cards in the next round.
Yeah, which also leads to super cheaty things. Like one game that we played, I had enough to start a Fox clan, where it's swap your hand, and I had 1 card I think in my hand besides them. So, and D hadn't done so well the last round, or just had a whole bunch of cards left over. So I was like, Fox clan, give me your hand. So I played out my clan, gave him 1 card, and took all of his other ones.
Which, yeah.
It stinks to have happen to you, but I feel like that's the only time the Fox clan's good.
Yes, when you're trading 1 or a few cards for a mitful.
Yes, for a mitful. Yeah. But I think it was a pretty fun game. Like the grasshopper mode, I mean, it's neat once you kind of figure out how you're supposed to play it. Because the first time or 2 that you play, you don't really get all the mechanics down, or what's the prop, like you start to learn strategy for doing that. But it's neat.
The Grandmaster mode felt a little convoluted in a way.
Yeah, it was a little much
but it expanded on the Grasshopper mode because you're able to then not just play a standard card game. You're able to do a little more interaction. You're not just just straight up playing it. You have more things to do. But at the same time, it felt there was a little bit too much going on in there. And
once again, I proved superior ninja skill. Won the Grandmaster mode on that one.
You tied for first. You did not win it outright.
No, I did win it outright because it came down to the end of the game who had less corruption at the end, and I had less corruption at the end of the game. I won. I'm technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. At least according to the bureaucrats of Futurama.
Yes.
Anyway, scale of 1 to 10?
I would say probably a 6 or a 7. Probably closer to a 6, though. It's a very simple game, but the Grandmaster mode felt like it was too much, and the Grasshopper mode felt like it was too little. So there wasn't sort of a happy medium there.
Yeah, I'm first kind of agree with you. I'd probably say a 7 on it. Like the artwork was really cool.
Yeah, the artwork was
I really
amazing.
appreciated that. The shuriken they give you, like the game was crafted well.
Yes.
Like the shuriken are little like cut out like wooden shuriken. They're awesome looking. All the art on the cards is really cool. They did a good job just giving all the little ninjas like a lot of personality. But yeah, the Grasshopper mode is a little bit too little, and the Grandmaster mode is just
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, so like a 7. I mean, it's a fun game if you're looking for something new to play. I wouldn't say don't pick it up. It's not a bad game, but kind of have an idea as to like what you're getting into.
Also, swing by your local game store and see if they have a demo copy.
Yeah,
and give it a go.
Give it a go. See if you like it. If you like it, pick up a copy.
Yep.
That's how we got to play. We went up to Critical Hit Games, which is right up the road from the Legion Halls here, and sat down. The store owner actually sat down with us and walked us through how to play the game. It's awesome.
Yep. Our last game is Desperados of Dicetown.
Desperados of Dicetown.
It's the Desperados of Dicetown.
It's a Wild West game. The idea behind it is that each player is the head of a gang of outlaws, and you're trying to break them out of jail and have the most money.
Pretty simple in that sense, but
yeah,
it's.
But there's more to it than just that. There's a bit of strategy going into it. Yeah. It's a dice-based game, as Dicetown would imply. You roll 4 dice.
4 dice.
And you get like the Yahtzee option in this one,
yes,
where you can re-roll any number of dice up to 2 more times,
including ones that you had previously rolled.
Yeah, including ones
they're previously saved. Sorry,
previously saved.
Yeah.
And the die has the normal 6 sides. You get the action symbol, which is like a little explosion, and then 1 symbol for each of your kinds of outlaws. You've got your brain,
you're
which
ugly,
is like you're ugly,
you're bad,
lady, your lady,
and your boss,
exactly. And each one has a different effect, and those effects will go against your opponents depending on whether or not they've freed that member of their gang. So you'd want to try to free things that your opponents don't have to be able to hit them and take their money away.
But while simultaneously trying to prevent them from hitting you by getting out the things that they have. So it's a lot of... it's a little bit of... It's obviously luck because it's a dice game, but you're also trying to figure out, okay, are they going to try and take me out, or are they going to try and free their guy first? So it's you have to make a decision based on what you think your opponents are going to do.
Yeah. And the action symbol lets you either move your people 1 step closer to freedom, or potentially use their action in varying degrees. Once you free somebody, there's 3 different stages of their action, whether you get 3, 2, or 1 of the action symbol with their corresponding symbol on the die.
Right.
So you do that, and then each of the brains have their own unique effect. All the other ones are pretty similar. It's just standard.
They are all similar in their
everyone loses
point value.
X amount of money.
Right.
And it doesn't go to like other people. It goes to like a pool in the middle. The exception being like the Mexican gang, where the leader lets you take money back out of the pot.
The brain, yes.
The brain, yeah.
Pedro.
Yeah. Was it Pedro?
It's Pedro.
Yeah. So there's 4 different gangs. It's up to 4 players for this game. There's one that's just like your standard Wild West bad guys. There's another one that's like your Southern family, like the brains like some like Old West prospector guy.
Yeehaw! Yeehaw!
Then there's
the Mexicans, and then what was the final one?
I think there's supposed to be like an Irish family or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe
close.
The one guy looked like Eminem. It really did. I just kept looking at him. He was the bad one. And
yes.
I was like, it looks like Eminem with a knife.
Yes.
But yeah, there's the 4 different teams. That's pretty neat. And there's at the beginning of the game, you also get to like free people like in certain degrees.
Yes, you get to start off was it rolling the dice, and that determines which ones you get to move up by a certain number of clicks. And each one has a different number of clicks going up. So the brain starts at 2, ugly is 3, bad is 4, lady is 5, and boss is 6. And you have to get them that many clicks to get them out of jail.
Yeah, and that's generally based on how powerful of a character they are. The boss, if you free them, they just deal like devastating amounts of damage to everybody. Yeah. But the brain can also do incredible things. Yeah. Like the brain I had is if you rolled 3 action symbols, everybody lost $10 and there was nothing they could do about it.
Yep. The one I had was you got to take money out of the pot. The one that the store owner had was the southern guy, and he was if you rolled 3, you get to take anyone out of jail no matter how many clicks they had left. You just immediately freed them, and
then, or you can adjust the dial.
Right. And then the last one,
I don't think we ever saw what the other one did.
Yeah,
never came up. But it was a fun little game though. It was something a little neat. It was nice to had a little Western skin to it. So the first thing I thought of was like, oh, it's like Bang. And I'm like, that's not good. I'm terrible at Bang. But there's also cards that you can get. There's a...
if you roll the dice and after 3 tries you don't get any action symbols to let people out, or if you do get action symbols but you can't use them that turn, then you get what's called Misery, and you get to take a card from a center deck, which some have really ludicrous effects, but they have powerful effects because you didn't do well that turn.
Yeah.
But then there are times where if you get 3 of a kind, you get to look at the top 3 cards, choose 1, and if you get 4 of a kind, you get to look at the top 4 cards and choose 2 and put them in your hand.
Yeah, and having 2 cards is incredibly powerful in the game because they're pretty serious effects most of the time.
Yeah. You can return you can return guys to jail.
Force rerolls,
counter abilities.
Yeah.
It can get pretty nasty if you don't have any cards in hand, or if your opponents have multiples and you're just trying to play it out. But otherwise, it was it was fun. It was a little more interactive, I felt, than some of the other games we had played. Yeah,
because there was a lot. I felt like there was a lot more strategy to this one.
Right, because you're not necessarily, because there are times where people head up, oh, I can start hitting people, but they chose not to hit people in lieu of getting one of their other people closer to freedom, or using a different effect.
Well, and the big thing is even once you get everybody out of jail, you still have to have the most money so you can free everybody and have less money than somebody. So there's times where you'll want to try to like protect somebody who's gonna because if they lose some money, then the other person will win the game.
Right.
And there's ways that you can fudge that and try to stay in the game and do that. So there's a lot more depth to this one, while still being a pretty simple game to learn how to play.
Right.
Which is nice.
I would say probably 7. I would say an 8. I really enjoyed the game. It actually, didn't he say it was like King of Tokyo?
A little similar to King of Tokyo.
Yeah. So, but I would say it's about an 8. I enjoyed it. It like I said, more strategy to it, even though you're trying to mess with other people. But it's not necessarily just straight up hit everybody. Like Spider said, you're trying to maybe save somebody because they have more money, or you're really trying to hurt somebody else because they're winning. But at the same time, you don't want to really hurt yourself. So I enjoyed the game. I thought it was very well done. So I'd say about an 8.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Probably 8, 8.5. For pretty much all the same reasons. Like it's easy to learn, which is awesome. Because sometimes you get a new game and it's really overwhelming to learn the rules too. It can be fun after a while, but it's hard. This one's quick. Not super quick to play because you have to do a few rounds to like get everybody out. But it's really easy to learn. It doesn't take too long. The setup time's really pretty much non-existent. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy, so the more times you play it, the better you can get with everything. So, yeah, I'd definitely recommend picking it up if you get a chance to.
Do we have time to cover the last bit? All right, just to cover what had come out recently, the new Orcs Codex and new Orcs models that have come up from Games Workshop. That they...
Whoa!
Yeah. Yes, highly appropriate.
Yeah.
They've, as appropriately, modified some of the rules, changed things around, but as per usual, they are orcs. They are in giant numbers or in trucks and driving across the battlefield and trying to get in your face and hit you with choppas. different rules that they've added a lot of flavor to them. I'll start there. They've given them some new weapons that feel very orky. One is a teleporter gun, and you get to teleport the guy that's shooting the weapon across the battlefield and essentially drops in front of the middle of a group and detonates on them. Then you have the bubble chucker, which allows you to you're shooting force bubbles out of a gun and they float down and then hit the unit that you're targeting, with varying strength. And then your standard shooters. They've increased some of the shooters. They've increased some of the choppers, but otherwise. And then they've added the Gorkanaut and the Morkanaut, which is a lesser Stompa.
But it can transport dudes.
That's true. It can transport dudes, which is very useful, especially when you're trying to trudge across the battlefield and drop 30 guys in front of an opposing army and go, haha. But the couple rules change that I was able to notice was, one, they changed mob rule from 5th edition, where it used to be just number of guys in the unit would determine your leadership. It was greater than 7, but if you had 10 or more, it was just 10. Now it adds flavor, but it feels a little too convoluted. That there will be a point at which, if you fail a morale or pinning test, you have to roll a d6, and if you roll a 4, 5, or 6, the unit will actually start taking wounds by itself because the orcs are fighting amongst themselves, and it can be variable amount of it's d6 hits. So they're all just attacking each other, trying to take command, or the knob, if there's a knob in there with a boss pole, just starts beating them on the head with it, saying no, bad. But they're taking damage, and it's like they have a 6-up. Most of them have a 6-up save, so you're going to lose guys, and that feels kind of bad. Even though you're going to be fielding, if you're going to be doing Green Tide, you're going to be fielding tons of guys. But even then, even still losing 3 or 4 guys a time every time you fail a test, it's just going to be miserable. The other one, though, is that they got better in a sense that when they charge, you can re-roll one of the charge dice and hope for a better result. So if you roll a 6 and a 1, you can re-roll the 1 and hope to get better. But the problem still is they can't get past the shooty game, and that's what 6th and now 7th edition rules is just lots of shooting. The Tau and Eldar are running rampant because they have the best weapons and best units for price that you're paying for the units, and so you're not getting quite as much value. The only thing that you could do would be to overwhelm or hope that you're able to drive your trucks across the field, drop them in front of them, and get into combat before they can even start unloading their weapons on you. But otherwise, they like I said, I enjoy the flavor. I enjoy what they've done with them, but I feel like they still just don't have that little bit of oomph to get over the lots of shooting.
Well, I got the important thing that you didn't note. This is the first codex to come out since the new 7th edition rules went into effect. That is true.
Thank you.
So I don't know how much of this they had developed prior to that, because it feels like 7th edition was very rushed. Like it was like, oh, there's all these problems. We need to fix it.
What, 2 years since 6th?
Something like that. So they didn't spend the full time to develop a whole new set of rules. Right. So it makes me think that the Orc Codex was developed for 6th edition,
and they just modified it for 7th.
And they modified it a little bit for 7th once that happened. So they didn't see that the shooting game was what it was, which is why they might not have given them that. Yeah, orcs aren't supposed to be super shooty.
Well, obviously, I mean, they're orcs.
They're orcs. But I've seen people do shooty orc armies and do very well with them.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's sheer volume of orcs.
That's the exception to the rule, but anyway.
I guess I was going to say, the bigger issue that I have with this, and again, with it being the first post-7th edition codex, is that while GW has very graciously said, oh, we're not going to increase prices this year, the prices for all the new orc models are outrageous. The price increase is just nuts. They have one of the new units. It's 5 models for $53.
Yeah.
And orcs are known for being having a large number of models in your army generally, but it's $53 for 5 models. There's the Mega Knob set that they finally did in plastic, but it's like $60 for 3 Mega Knobs. Yeah, and they count it as 4 models because they give you an ammo run with it. It's like, no, that's not 4 models. It's 3 models.
Yeah.
They're charging basically what they charged you for the metal miniatures that they used to do for plastic.
Right.
Which is a little absurd. Yeah. The individual characters that are now the orcs, I think, are the first all plastic line they're doing for the new models, at least. They're individual characters. One of the individual plastic characters. It is one model for $35.
Wait, which one's that?
The Big Mech.
You're kidding.
No, $35 for a single plastic model.
My lord.
Yeah, all the prices for the
Oy.
models are absurd. The new cannons that they give you, or that they made, models are... Don't get me wrong. The models are absolutely beautiful. These are some of the best-looking models GW's put out in a while, but the prices are absurd. The cannons, the new cannons that they finally updated after like 3 editions or something like that, are like $53 a cannon, and points-wise in the game, they're like 18 to 39 points.
So you just field a bunch of them, but you have to
You're
spend $50 a cannon.
You're supposed to field a lot of them to
Yeah.
make them effective. But if you're spending, $50 a cannon, you're not going to want to do it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if they've bothered changing the prices on any of the other boxes, like your basic units, like your boys. But the new models, at least, are
it's
crazy expensive. And that's pretty much what's kind of keeping me out of it right now, because I played Orcs before the edition change. Well, before 6th edition came out. And I'm just like, man, as much as I'd love to have these, that's just so much money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting out of hand with the sheer amount that they're charging for a lot of this stuff. But one last thing on the codex, though, they did change the layout of the codex, and now it's more like, if you've seen the data slates that they put out for previous stuff in 6th edition, that it looks much more like a data slate. It's much easier to read, it's much easier to find what you're looking for, versus the older codexes, which were a little more... They varied in
the 6th
style.
edition ones were a bit rough.
Yes.
They're like they look gorgeous.
Yes.
They're full color hardcover books,
Yeah.
which is nice, except
Also,
for they're $50 a piece.
Right.
But yeah, it was like, here's your armory section, here's your units, and everything was like referencing other page numbers. So you're doing all this flipping back and forth to try to build an army list, and it just took forever.
Right. And now they've simplified that, and now it's...
Which is nice. At least that's
nice
a step in the right
Because
direction.
they put all the fluff in the beginning, and then they put all the war gear and orcs, all the extra stuff in the back, which is where it should be.
Yeah.
But I believe that's our time. We are the Ninja Legion. I'm D.
I'm Spider.
Take care.